So Hildryn has become an AC-130. An AC-130 that can also slam down on top of you. Behave, don't go there. Her new augment, Aegis Gale, is a lot of fun. They've buffed the buff, but on top of that, they've also given her Balefire Charger and her Aegis Storm ability some really nice and much needed changes as well. She can now cast any Helminth ability or her own pillage while flying around in that Aegis Storm mode, which means easier shield regen and defense strip management, allowing you to stay in Aegis Storm longer and just rain death down on anything that gets in your way. Now her Balefire Charger now deals more damage with charged shots and costs half the previous amount of shield that it used to cast that charged shot. They've removed Balefire's Ragdoll for a stagger, which is a huge change in and of itself. The Ragdoll was quite annoying, and Balefire Charger will now automatically equip when you cast your Aegis Storm ability, which is another nice quality of life change. Now her flight movement from that Aegis Storm is now more fluid, they're faster, and it has a better acceleration, thanks in a huge part to Jade and how her flight mechanics were much better than Hildryn's. So there was an outcry, why does Jade get this and why can Hildryn not have the flight mechanics that's the same? So those flight mechanics have now bled down into Hildryn and caused her to get those changes, which is huge. Now, whenever Aegis Storm is deactivated or if you run out of shield mid-ability, it will force Hildryn into a slam or a superhero landing, leaving her invincible for a brief moment in order to stop you getting killed mid-animation. And the slam now drops all enemies simultaneously. So her augment, Aegis Gale, the new augment that she got with this update. Aegis Gale will add an alternate fire mode to her Balefire Chargers while she is flying around in that Aegis Storm ultimate ability. It won't work if you're not inside the ultimate ability. This alternate fire will shoot 4 explosive rounds that deal the base damage of your Balefire Charger plus 15% of Hildryn's maximum shields. So more shields means more damage. Now with 8,000 shield, each dart will do around 4,000 damage, but that's not counting the modded damage from your Balefire Charger shot as well. Add in fire rate, add in elemental damage, and it is a very, very powerful augment. You don't need to worry about charging your shots anymore. You can just fly around hitting the alt fire mode, and you can throw out serious damage with these large area of explosive shots, while also not suffering from damage fall off since her Balefire Chargers don't suffer fall off. This means adding Fulmination or Prime Fulmination into your build will allow for much bigger group clearing potential. Now Hildryn doesn't need other weapons because right now with this augment, Hildryn is the goddamn weapon. One that has serious tankiness, can crowd control large areas, can strip defenses by 100%, can replenish shields, can cleanse status effects, and now has a much better Aegis Storm ability, and definitely in terms of quality of life and how the flight mechanics work. Anyway, now here's the thing, right? I've not subsumed any ability onto my Hildryn because she's not a frame I've used a whole lot in the past. I didn't like her ultimate ability, I didn't like the Balefire Chargers, but this definitely changes things up. So I'm going to have to choose what to replace her Haven with. Haven is good and it's okay with its augment as well if I want to set enemies on fire, but I kind of want to see what other abilities I could fit in there. Now I know I could fit Nourish in there, right, because Nourish fits on pretty much goddamn everything, or I could even maybe try Jade's Oftenham Eyes, but the duration of my build is quite low and so is the efficiency as well. But anyway, these are the builds that I used for my Hildryn Prime for the purpose of this footage. So, this is my current Hildryn Prime build. I am using Corrosive Rejection simply to offset the armor strip with pillage. I need 328%. This gives me the 18%, sorry, on top of that, which allows me to 100% strip shields and armor from enemies. I've got Primed Redirection, I've got Primed Vigor, and I've got Boreal's Hatred simply to amplify my shield, because Aegis Scale deals more damage the higher your shield value is. So right now it's dealing 4,000 additional damage. You could get rid of Boreal's Hatred if you wanted to and put in Adaptation. That's entirely up to you if you want a bit more, I guess, survivability. Arcane Barrier, Arcane Aegis also to regenerate my shields. Those two will kind of rotate in between one another when they're off cooldown. Then I've got Stretch for a little bit of range for my Pillage and of course for my Haven as well, and of course to hang enemies in the air. And I've also got Umbral Intensify, Transient Fortitude and Blind Rage to give myself as much power strength as possible, like I said, to benefit Pillage, but also to benefit the damage from my Aegis Storm. Now it does fire out, Aegis Gale does fire out 4 different projectiles, and of course it's going to be amplified even more by your actual Balefire Charger build. Now, this is my Balefire Charger's build, okay? I've got Hornet Strike for damage increase, I've got Multi-Shot, I've got Corrosive, I've got Heat, I've got Prime Fulmination to increase the blast radius of those 4 rockets that hit the ground, I've got Magnum Force to increase the damage I throw out, and of course I've got more Multi-Shot and Fire Rate with this as well, which leads to a total damage of 251,000. Now, of course, you're not going to get that. Armor and everything else is going to drastically reduce that, but you will see some pretty big damn numbers in the footage that I'm using. Now, the only major issue you might find with Hildryn is that her abilities, well, this is actually going to depend on your build, but her abilities drain her shields, as does incoming enemy damage, and she needs those shields in order to cast her abilities because she has no energy pool. That's what makes her so unique. Pillage will offset this by stripping enemies of their armor and their shields and then returning a percentage of that to you until you go into overshield, which means you've got a good sustain. So while my build is high power strength and low efficiency, it relies heavily on Pillage removing armor and shields in order to keep my momentum going. But if there is no enemies around because your squad has killed them all, then you got a problem. Or you might want to change your build to fit squad play more than going around solo nuking to maybe something like this, with less strength but more crowd control and more efficiency. Also, if enemies already have their armor and their shields 100% stripped by Pillage and you didn't kill them, then when you cast Pillage again, it will have nothing to strip, which means it will have nothing to return to you, which means no shield regen either. And since her health pool is very low, it means you're not going to have a very good time if you have no shields. Also, she is much more vulnerable to slash procs from enemies and of course toxic procs as well, so make sure and look out for those because at higher levels they can seriously hurt. So while she is an awesome Warframe when it's going up against something that has shields or armor like Grineer or Corpus or even in the Orokin and the corrupted enemies, she is much less effective when she goes up against Infested because most of them don't have armor and definitely don't have shields, or even going up against some of the Murmur enemies in Elite Deep Archimedia that don't use shields either. As a result, she's not going to bring as much to the table in certain mission types compared to a lot of our Warframes right now, but I know that she has got a very strong follow base and players who use Hildryn enjoy using her simply because she is a beast. So that's my Hildryn. Let me know what you think of Hildryn now with her new augment and of course with some of those quality of life changes in the comment section below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video or don't if it didn't. Have a great day and as always, thanks for watching.